Their AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for cloudy skies today with a high near 52, tonight partly cloudy with a low around 42, and Tuesday a mix of rain and snow with a high near 44. Discover fresh dining experiences with Eat Local Minnesota. From Cafe Latte to Nightingale and the Park Tavern, enjoy unique dishes, local brews, and vegetarian options, all while keeping your money local. Find the full list at eatlocalminnesota.com. That's eatlocalminnesota.com.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
Broadcasting from the studios of AM 950 KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota, and airing on WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk. Welcome to the Gailey Show, the only daily LGBTQ radio news and talk show in the United States. And no matter where you are in America, from Fire Island to Abilene, Texas, to North Dakota to West Hollywood, we got you. I'm your host, John Parker, in studio with my executive producer, Jim Pounds.
Hey, y'all.
We are also live streaming on our YouTube channel right now. And if you like what we're doing here on YouTube, subscribe, click like, leave us a comment. You know the drill. All right, what is on the show today? Writer and journalist Adam Rhodes will join us in the second half hour to talk about his recent article he published in Bolts magazine. Headline: in Illinois, trans people with criminal records still face hurdles to changing their names. He's going to unpack all of that for us in the second half hour. The Epstein Fallout continues, and Jim's going to talk to us about Steve Bannon's role in trying to make America like Epstein again. Yeah, that's a thing. There's a congressional election we are tracking in Tennessee next week. We're going to update you about it. But up first, Dr. Gerald Gers is the artistic director of the Twin Cities Gay Men's Chorus. He's been a finalist for the American Prize in Choral Composition and for several choirs and choruses, rather. He has been commissioned to write choral works, including for the Gay Men's Chorus of Charlotte, the Women's Chorus of San Diego, Turtle Creek Chorale in Texas. That is a very partial list. Dr. Gers, welcome to the Gailey Show.
Welcome. Thank you, John and Jim.
All right. Before we talk about the upcoming concert, Jingle Bells and Jazz Noels, with Tony Award-winning guest artist Alex Newell, I want to talk about the important role choruses play in bringing the community together. We started 2025 with the infamous Gay Men's Chorus cancellation at the Kennedy Center as the Trump administration took over, and then basically has been trying to erase queer people from public life ever since. Can you talk to us about the important role choruses have had in building community and bringing us together, not just for the fun and the laughter, which you all provide every concert, but also the important nature of what you all are trying to accomplish there for the community?
Sure. So there's a saying in Gaelic choruses that if you want to sing, join a chorus. If you want to change the world, join a Gaelic chorus. And for our listeners who don't know what the acronym GALA stands for, it stands for Gay and Lesbian Association. This movement was started kind of in a queer binary where we were mostly focused with gay and lesbian people. So GALA is what we're left with, but of course that is all more encompassing now. And another psychological truth is that it is hard to fear and hate the face of somebody you love. And so one of the things that the choruses do is that we provide that face for our communities, our loved ones, our chosen family, our biological family, people we don't know. We put on concerts, and almost all of our concerts are gay with, vicariously, because we're the ones singing it on stage, whether we're singing Bach or whether we're singing Broadway or whether we're singing Beyonce. All of those things just happen to start with B, but that's fine. It is a queer community that's presenting it. And people don't have to come to a space necessarily where we are saying, we are queer, accept us. And, where it's this contentious, our side is right and your side is wrong. We're on stage, we're presenting art, we're giving that fear a face. And numerous times it has happened where family members have later said, I was wrong and I'm really sorry. And they're now longtime concert goers. And of course we know that didn't reach that one person. We know that that person is having conversations with their extended sphere of interaction. And, this really began, the gala movement, and specifically gay men's chorus movement, began in the height of the AIDS crisis. It started as a response to the AIDS crisis, and it was not necessarily an artistic response that was born just for artistic sake itself. It was a community response for protest, for giving people who are having memorials someone to sing at their memorial. And there are lots more funerals than there were celebrations at those times, but it was giving a face to the queer community when everyone was afraid of gay people. And so there's something about art, and especially choral art, where we have a text that's being sung that brings people together outside of the sphere of we are different into the sphere of, oh, we're the same and we love this music.
That's great.
Thank you for that. I needed to be have that community time together, and so thank you for reminding us why the work that you do is so important. And now I want to ask, Jingle Bells Jazz Noels with Tony Award-winning guest artist Alex Newell, Saturday, December 6th at both 2:30 p.m. and 7:30 p.m. All right, tell us.
Sure. So, will this concert be as salacious as the Epstein Files? Well, you're going to have to come and find out. But yes, but not in the same way, of course, right? I mean, I certainly hope not. So I can tell you that my name does not appear in those files. I'm so excited for this concert because, as you know, if you started out following Alex's career, they were in Glee, and you loved them in Glee. And then they had many appearances on Broadway, and then they were in Shucked, and then now coming to Chicago playing Mama Morton. And this singer is just, while they are a queer force and icon, that's a powerhouse vocal, right? So I'm very excited for this partnership. And I can tell you that they're going to be singing some big numbers that you expect a voice like Alex to sing, like Go Tell It on the Mountain in the explosive gospel way. They're going to be singing Joy from the Preacher's Wife, originally recorded by Whitney Houston. Santa Baby, I'm sure, with its own flair. So, and then, the chorus itself, when we were thinking about this concert, and we thought, what kind of programming really complements the voice and personality of Alex Newell? Well, it's gospel, and it's brassy, and it's big. But we didn't want to really cross the line over to complete gospel concert because that would alienate some of our audience and singers. So we thought, well, let's go big band and jazz with this. And jazz and gospel have many musical and harmonic connections as well. So it was a really easy tide to go that direction. And then when you're thinking about jazz and big band, you can't help but step back in time to a nostalgic era where you would have seen, these orchestras with the little shells in front of them and the person with the long skinny mic talking on a show, and that was what really entertained people back then, and still does today, because we revisit a time when that wasn't what we do today. So we took a dip into that era, and here we are.
That's great. I appreciate the fact that you're going to have two performances on the same day, one of them in the afternoon for those people that don't necessarily feel as comfortable driving at night. I know a few people like that, and that gives people that option. But what does that do to the chorus? Everybody's got to rev it back up again, right?
Yeah. Our chorus is pretty fearless and devout, and I love them so much. And it was kind of a dangling carrot, right? Like, you're done in one day. We used to do, okay, you're going to have a rehearsal Wednesday, you're going to have a rehearsal Thursday, you're going to do a show Friday, and you're going to do one Saturday, you're going to do one Sunday. So I think this is the end result for any gala chorus at the end of the holidays is you're tired.
Yes.
Now, you're tired, but you're done sooner. So
I love it. I think it's great.
I do too. And I'll tell you what, I bartended my share of gay bars in my life. And I'm not a 2 a.m. gay. I'm not that gay. I am the gay that says, oh my gosh, it's 7 o'clock. It's almost time for bed.
Wow.
So, I also appreciate a matinee.
Yeah. I think that's great.
For our folks in Chicago, tell us, how many members do y'all have now?
Sure. So our singing membership is up to 189,
That's
which is a large chorus. If you're
Yeah.
familiar with your church choir staple, might have 15 or 16. So yeah, it's a large force, and it's a big community. And we were talking earlier about what these choruses do. I think I was primarily talking externally, but internally, for many people, that's a place where every week they have somewhere to go. That's home. And it's a place to find queer community that's not digital, and it's not existing for any other reason in my mind, except for artistic community.
Right.
So yeah, I'm really happy for that.
We are talking with Dr. Gerald Gers, Artistic Director of the Twin Cities Gay Men's Chorus. Dr. Gers, it's an interesting time of the year to be celebrating the holidays. I mean, in terms of the current presidential administration that we are in. What is your hope for what this concert will do for folks in the community?
Oh, I love that question. So sometimes when I'm programming, I have to ask myself, and sometimes the answer is yes, but I have to ask myself the decision between two questions. Is now the time to sing and talk about advocacy and the work that needs to be done?
Mm.
Or is now the time for some escapism and make joy the protest? Because we live and absorb so much of this every day anyway, that I want to create a space where people can find a joyful way away from that. And there's something to be said for joy as a protest, because some people think that when they take that joy away from you, that they've won. And when you show them that they haven't, and you don't have to do it in a big loud way, right? Like that just... You made your point while being joyful. And this concert actually accomplishes both of those things. So while, we're opening up with this Ella Fitzgerald setting of Santa Claus is coming to town with, if you've ever been to Orchestra Hall in Minneapolis, there are these giant cubes at the back of the hall, and they do projections on them, and it's quite stunning. So we're going to have, these crazy projected Santa Clauses on the cubes, and the Santa Clauses are all different races, and even I think there's a leather fetish Santa Claus for those who buy that.
Yes.
And then beginning to look like Christmas, sugar and booze. We're even doing a Wicked parody because Wicked's hot right now. And I got to tell you really quickly about this. This is pretty funny.
You've got just under a minute.
Okay, I thought about what would happen if there was a traditional green Christmas tree at Home Depot, and all of a sudden they didn't know where to stick the tinsely bright pink tree. And they said, I'll just put it next to the green one. And of course, they hate each other. So we have loathing, but then also we have a song like New Humanity Arise. And this song talks about what if we could put aside hatred and put aside indifference, and we could come together just to make the world we live in a better place. So there's a little bit of that.
Thank you. The concert is Jingle Bells and Jazz Noels with Tony Award-winning guest artist Alex Newell. Get your tickets at tcgmc.org. That's tcgmc.org. Dr. Gers, we're going to have you back again because you all got concerts all the time. We love it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye. We'll be back.
History Theater celebrates the fascinating history of the St. Paul Winter Carnival with the world premiere of Rollicking, a winter carnival musical November 22nd through December 21st in St. Paul. Discover the strange, wonderful heart of a tradition built on resilience, imagination, and the enduring spirit of our snowy state. Discounts are available for students, seniors, and groups. Don't miss this vibrant premiere. Find details now at historytheater.com. That's historytheater.com.
Some versions of A Christmas Carol are hot toddies, sweet and cozy. Open Eye Theater's holiday tradition, Scrooge in Rouge, it's a Boilermaker, a raucous Victorian vaudeville-style musical that spikes your holiday with camp and chaos. Scrooge in Rouge is backed by audience demand for the third year in a row. Celebrate the holidays with Open Eye Theater, November 28th through December 28th. Bring your friends, bring your festive spirit, and leave your figgy pudding at home. Christmas can be a drag in the best way. Tickets at openeyetheater.org.
It's no secret that medical care costs are soaring, with nursing home and skilled nursing care costs being some of the highest. You don't have to deplete your savings in order to receive long-term care. At Schroman Law, we work with families to develop and implement strategic planning for medical assistance for long-term care, for assisted living, nursing home care, or home-based care. Contact us today to schedule a free consultation at schromanlaw.com. That's SCHROMEN law.com.
Hi, this is Frank Brown of Minuteman Press Uptown with a question for our listeners. How important are business values to you? When you need high-quality digital print, it matters who you work with. You see, Minuteman Uptown is unique. We're one of the only union print shops in Minnesota providing our team with living wages and benefits. We believe in second chances for justice-impacted individuals who want to contribute to the community, and we are active in local issues. We've been in the streets standing up for racial, social, and economic justice. At Minuteman Uptown, our mission is to connect all communities through technology-driven print solutions. An example of that mission is when I moved Minuteman Uptown to North Minneapolis. We're invested in this local community, and we help small businesses and local organizations throughout the Twin Cities reach their audiences. Reach out to Minuteman Uptown and partner with a printer that shares your values. Call us today at 612-870-0777 or visit us at mpuptown.com. That's mpuptown.com.
The independently owned Next Chapter Booksellers is the perfect destination for your next book. The friendly staff at Next Chapter Booksellers are great at making recommendations no matter your age or taste. Plus, they have frequent events including book readings and meet and greets with authors. And they sell more than just books. They have a wide variety of puzzles and games, too. So stop in and browse the store off Snelling and Grand in St. Paul. More at nextchapterbooksellers.com.
Welcome back to the Gailey Show. I am John Parker. We're coming up on the bottom of the hour. If you're listening in the 2 p.m. Central Hour, we can take your calls at 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. The Epstein Fallout continues. We all know now that Larry Summers, or maybe you don't know, Larry Summers has been taken off of teaching duties from Harvard University. So adding to the many things, he's been kicked off the board of OpenAI, which runs ChatGPT. And now Jim is asking the question about Steve Bannon, who was having a very active role in wanting to make America like Epstein again. Apparently that was a thing. Jim, do you want to update us on it?
Well, the stories come out that at the moment of his arrest, of Epstein's arrest at the airport, he was texting back and forth with Steve Bannon, planning shooting dates on the island for a documentary that was going to, what do you want to say, whitewash, clean out the reputation of Epstein and present him as an acceptable person after his conviction. And so this was all agreed to. They were down to the details of, so when are we going to do this? And we're going to do it on the island. And what dates are you available? That was the conversation that was going on. And so I am posing the same question that people have said about Larry Summers. You know, he's, I think, stepped back as much as he's been pushed back. But I would ask, why is Steve Bannon's podcast, War Room, on the air? I did a little bit of digging in the company. He hired a company to distribute his program, which is probably one of the main sources of disinformation in a cesspool of disinformation. And I won't mention the gentleman's name, but his company is the one that distributes it, right, through Spotify and Apple and various other places. And he has been arrested 5 times, this gentleman, convicted once, on charges of, you know, things like burglary, battery, assault. Really nice guy. Wow. And his son, this is a sort of a terrible side thing. His 17-year-old son has been convicted of murdering a 10-year-old girl. This was some time ago, but so a really unsavory person that you can imagine. Of course, that's who Steve Bannon would hire to distribute his podcast, but nobody ever talks about this guy's background. So I would suggest to Spotify and Apple this is somebody that he's already been thrown off for, what was it, 5 years he was off Spotify because of all the disinformation that he was slinging around. Now he's back on doing the same damage. I would say he is a primary architect of the attempt to make all of you all or us all swallow the poison pill of Epstein, and he got real close to doing it. And as far as I'm concerned, he's as guilty. If Larry Summers is guilty of asking about dating advice from Epstein, I would say this guy, Steve Bannon, is every bit as dirty in a sidecar sort of way. There's also a suggestion that they were trying to get Michael Wolff involved. I won't even go into that right now, but that's
He was the biographer.
He was a biographer, and I think they were trying to use him to communicate with Ding Dong. That was what they were trying to leverage. But as far as I'm concerned, Bannon, bad dude, shouldn't be on the air, doesn't have a right to that platform. Shut up and go sit down.
Yeah, it is interesting to see the focus on Larry Summers, which yes, and I was listening to I was on the background on MS Now, formerly MSNBC, panel talking about I think there's a new op-ed in the New York Times. The writer was talking about the elite class and how they live when the rest of us aren't watching, and how they were all connected to, Epstein and whatnot. Yep. And it was just, it's interesting to me to see how many people were so fine talking to him even after his first conviction. And now you're saying that this documentary was going to happen. So when Epstein was arrested, this was the second time.
Yeah, this was to clean up his reputation now that he'd gone through that first time, to make him palatable now. And we all know there isn't somebody on this planet that knows how despicable Epstein was. And Bannon was going to be behind an effort to try to convince all of you that was not true. We know that's a lie, like virtually everything else that comes out of that guy's mouth.
But this is the thing that I continue to be flummoxed by, of the politics of this. So setting aside the just absolutely atrocious, like, oh my God, like criminal nature of all of this and the victims, and those stories need to be told right now. When you look at the politics of it, this is a story that MAGA wanted. They wanted the Epstein files. Mm-hmm. They were clamoring for the Epstein files. It is literally the only thing since 2015, the only thing that has separated MAGA from Donald Trump. And yet they were all clamoring for it. They were all wanting. And so you have Trump that's fanning the flames of the conspiracy theory during the campaign last year. You've got Steve Bannon, War Room podcast, like part of the whole MAGA influencer setting the agenda, blah, 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 individual. And yet they know what's in these files because they were talking with Epstein. They were ingratiated with Epstein. And it's just the politics of this. This is something to me that'd be like, they should be trying to bury the story. And instead they're talking about, you've got Pam Bondi, new attorney general, going, I've got the list. Here it is. What? Like it just,
well, I'm saying
I don't understand why you have a group of people, politicians, that were fanning the flames of this conspiracy theory, wanting to say, we're going to show all. But then knowing, oh yeah, well, I'm in it. I'm implicated in it. Now we got to shut the whole thing down.
I think the issue is that Bannon should be banned. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, he's somebody that was going to try to feed us another pile of lies, be paid for his time, and he's every bit as bad as anybody that would whitewash.
How is he going to reconcile that, though, as the producer of a documentary to make Epstein great again? When you've got the MAGA movement that's like, no, he has all the evidence we need to take down all the Democrats. So I don't understand the politics of this at all. I don't understand how Bannon was trying to play both sides of this.
But it reveals the criminals that are constantly around Trump. Ever since he was 18, he's surrounded himself with unsavory and incompetent people, and Bannon is one of them. That was right. I can't believe Bannon only went to jail for a month or something. It was ridiculous. This guy is a criminal, up one side and down the other, associates with criminals. So yes, he deserves the same treatment as Summers.
Well, obviously this is an ongoing story, and we're going to continue talking about it because there's a lot of fallout that's also affecting the queer community. So we're going to take a break. If you like what we're doing, click subscribe on YouTube, give us a like, and leave a comment. None of this is possible without our listener support. For our listeners and viewers in Minnesota, now is the time to become a member of AM 950 Radio. In this commercial break, go to am950radio.com and click on Become a Member. You're listening to The Gailey Show.
This is Santita Jackson, Minneapolis.
Adam, you there? Hey, Adam.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. Hanging in there.
All right. Your mic sounds good right now. Patrick, does his mic sound? Your mic sounds good. We are going to have to go back to the live stream right now, though you're on a hot mic. Hi, YouTube. They can hear and see everything we're doing. But we're going to go back for the radio broadcast back onto the live stream right now. So do you see on the right-hand side of your screen a private chat?
Oh, yes.
There. Okay, I will put in the time cues so that you know how much time is left in the break, so you're not just suddenly surprised, like, hey, they're talking.
Sounds good.
Okay, do you have any questions for me before
No.
we switch back? All right, cool. Thank you. I should have started with this. Thank you for joining us. I'm looking forward to talking about your article.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
All right, we'll talk just in a couple minutes here.
See.
Line at chamblotfamilydentistry.com or call 1-800-FIX-MY-TEETH.
Hey, it's Patrick for Zero Res. Ready or not, the holidays are here. And if you're still falling on the not side, there's still time to call my cleaning heroes at Zero Res to come over and help get things in order. Any surface in your home can be Zero Resified. Carpets, tile, rugs, upholstery, hardwood, and more. So you don't have to worry about your friends and family sitting down on a nasty couch. Plus, you can get a jump on your Black Friday deals with this offer from Zero Res. Get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned starting at just $119 plus $75 off an air duct cleaning. That's right, you can call 9520-RES or go to ZeroResMinnesota.com and ask for the AM 950 special. You don't even have to wait out in the cold at 5 a.m. to get your Black Friday deal from Zero Res. Again, that's 3 rooms of carpet clean starting at $119 plus $75 off an air duct cleaning. Backward or forward spells the same. Zero Res.
The best deal for Black Friday is back at the Park Tavern. On Friday, November 28th only, stop into the Park Tavern, buy a $100 gift card. You'll receive $50 in Park Tavern gift cards for free. You heard that right. Buy $100 in Park Tavern gift cards, and you will receive $50 in gift cards for free. The best part is you get to decide which gift cards you keep and which gift cards you gift. And the Park Tavern is open regular hours on Black Friday, offering up their full menu. On Louisiana Avenue, north of Highway 7 in St. Louis Park, get the best deal this year at the Park Tavern.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for cloudy skies today with a high near 52. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low around 42. And Tuesday, a mix of rain and snow with a high near 44. Discover fresh dining experiences with Eat Local Minnesota. From Cafe Latte to Nightingale and the Park Tavern, enjoy unique dishes, local brews, and vegetarian options, all while keeping your money local. Find the full list at eatlocalminnesota.com. That's eatlocalminnesota.com. AM 950 KTNF, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Coming to you from the studios of AM 950 KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota, and airing on WCPTA 20, Chicago's Progressive Talk. Welcome back to the Gailey Show. I am Joan Parker. It is 33 minutes after the hour. I'm in my studio with my executive producer, Jim Pounds. Apparently, I just claimed the studio for myself.
Wow.
It's all mine now, AM 950. Also, live streaming on our YouTube channel. If you like what we're doing, subscribe, leave us a comment, and what was the other thing I was going to say? I'm so excited about our next guest that my brain is literally blanking right now. Adam Rhodes is a writer and journalist who covers the criminal legal system. His work has appeared in the Chicago Reader, The Appeal, BuzzFeed News, and the Washington Post. Last week, he published an article in Bolts magazine. The headline, "In Illinois, trans people with criminal records still face hurdles to changing their names." I wanted to bring him in after reading it to talk all about it. Lucky for me, lucky for all of us, Adam said yes. Adam, welcome to the Gailey Show.
Hey, how's it going? Really glad to be here.
All right, so updating government issue IDs as one transition is already a fraught situation and process under the best of circumstances.
Yep.
You've taken a deep dive now as it intersects, that process intersects with Illinois' criminal justice system. What did you find out?
Yeah, so basically, as you said, updating identity documents as you transition is always a difficult process. It's always going to come with bureaucratic hurdles, financial hurdles, and all of these hurdles disproportionately impact trans people with criminal histories, particularly Black and brown trans people. In Illinois, state law was amended twice to reform the law. The first amendments took away a felony ban. Like, you had to basically wait until 10 years after your felony conviction and any sentence was lapsed to be able to change your name. And then there was a publication requirement, which not only trans people, but, domestic violence survivors have long said disproportionately impacts them, opens them up to violence, harassment, things like that. And even after those reforms, I found that there are still barriers for trans people with criminal histories, particularly in Cook County, where prosecutors have taken a lot of attention to trans people, or just people in general with criminal histories, changing their names.
Can you tell us, there was one person that you talked to whose story was harrowing, where they survived an attack they were being assaulted for being trans. That's their identity. They fought back. They were convicted of. Can you tell us that story of that individual?
Yeah, absolutely. So that is Aisha Love, a really fantastic person and really staunch advocate for this. I've kind of been in communication with her about this topic for years. And just like you said, she was defending herself in an anti-trans attack. She has long said that the man who she was in an altercation with was verbally and physically harassing her because she was trans. And as she was fleeing, as part of her fleeing, she hit him with her car and then was actually sentenced and convicted for aggravated battery. Was then incarcerated in a men's prison for a number of years, frequently in solitary confinement. And even after all of that, had to wait almost a decade to change her name, finally changed her name in 2024. So really at every possible level illustrates the way that the criminal legal system particularly impacts trans people, Black and brown trans people, trans people with criminal convictions. And, at every stage, again, adding insult and insult and insult to the injuries that she's already faced.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then to make someone, even under the Biden or Obama administrations, to say, you now have to publish your name in a newspaper and just highlight to everybody, right? Like, there's no privacy about that. So Illinois gets rid of the 10-year requirement, but prosecutors can still file motions to prevent people who are applying. Do I have that right?
Yes, correct. So prosecutors, it is written into the law that prosecutors, the state's attorney's office, has the ability to object in name change petitions. It basically gives the state the ability to tell the court, like, hey, we believe this person because of X and X criminal history or because of X and X that they have voluntarily disclosed in these name change petitions. Because of what they have disclosed, we do not think they should change the name. It is also frequently the case where they'll say, prosecutors will say, like, we either want the court to deny this petition or require them to begin the process of updating their criminal history transcript, which comes with a lot of, onerous requirements in and of itself, going down oftentimes to a police station or CPD headquarters to get fingerprinted. For people with criminal histories, that is obviously a really fraught and emotional and, traumatizing process. So it really adds a lot of bureaucratic hurdles to a process that is already really, really burdensome.
Mm-hmm. What are the I don't know. What are the why are the courts and the criminal justice system saying that we still need to have all of these things? Because it creates a situation in my mind where if you have someone who's gone through their gender affirmation, they have transitioned, they're in that part of their phase of life, and they're their presentation does not match what their ID looks like. That's creating situations that can lead to dangerous outcomes for people. So what are the folks that are opposed to these changes? What is their rationale for this?
Yeah, so really just want to underscore that like these policies are quite literally putting trans people at risk. Like think of every time that you use a name or like show up to an appointment and they like check your name. It's like, oh, can I just check you in? Stuff like that. Every time that happens, if that ID, the name on your ID does not match the like name that you have given that person, it opens them up to anti-trans violence. And there are rising reports of anti-trans violence. There have been for years. But the people who are in favor of these restrictions are basically saying it's a public safety issue, that they want to prevent people from, you know, changing their name and then committing all of these crimes, like without all of that information tracking them. Number one, we know that's not true because, again, as criminal history transcripts are updated, like that name, like both somebody's former name and their new name follow them. You know, in the year of our Lord 2025, like people, it is almost impossible for people to disappear. You know, social security numbers follow people for their lives. Digital footprints are impossible to erase these days. You know, these laws were frequently passed in, or, you know, go back to a time where like people could just like dodge creditors or dodge arrest by like changing their name. And that's why the publication requirement was a thing. But that does not exist now. Universally, the people that I've spoken to say that like those arguments do not hold water.
Well, and I'm just, the article flagged for me, particularly because I'm literally going through a name change process. So I was literally in front of a judge last week giving my case for this. This is just my surname. And I just want to underscore, like, these things stay with you. There is literally, like, on all of my documentation, like my records and everything, it very clearly is like previous name that's gone on your passport, social security, like all of this. I'm just saying that from my cisgender lived experience of having to change my last name, it continues to go with you throughout your life. It is impossible for me to get around it. You also were telling in your article about Commissioner Maggie Trevor, from Cook County, I believe, and the work that Commissioner Trevor is doing. Can you update us on that?
Yeah, so basically at a mid-year budget hearing, this is kind of where I kind of came to this story. At a mid-year budget hearing, Commissioner Trevor, you know, asked the Cook County State's Attorney's Office, like, hey, I've received reports about this. LGBTQ plus elected officials have talked to your office a lot about this. Like, what is going on here? And it basically kind of was that the Cook County State's Attorney's Office at the time did not have any written policy in place. They had a practice that they were continuing from the previous State's Attorney Kim Fox's office. And again, they were just kind of continuing that practice. And as a result of, you know, the questioning at the mid-year budget hearing, meetings with other advocates, with other interested organizations, a new policy was crafted. It is a very short policy that does not contain any explicit provisions about how gender identity and like those very legitimate safety concerns are weighed against like these nebulous public safety concerns that, you know, people who are in favor of the criminal legal system tend to kind of float in these circumstances. But as it stands right now, there is a policy. But again, you know, advocates have said that that policy is weird. You know, it's written both really, really vague and unclear in a way that like gives prosecutors a lot of leeway to kind of like pick and choose.
We are talking with writer and journalist Adam Rhodes about his recent article in Bolts magazine, headline: "In Illinois, trans people with criminal records still face hurdles to changing their names." So what is next for this story? I know there are still there's a lot of advocacy that's still going on. There are a lot of elected officials that are still raising the issue and saying we need to change policies and laws. But everything's still kind of, is it still murky? Is there a path forward for change in Illinois?
It's still pretty murky. From my knowledge, there isn't any, you know, like legislation actively trying to amend the law again. But the people that I've spoken with, you know, Avi Rudnick at the Transformative Justice Law Project in particular have said like it is frankly at a point where an additional change to state law will probably be required, you know, given the amount of meetings people have had with Cook County State's Attorney's Office and all of that, that it is at a point where, you know, it just needs a further amendment of state law to provide the guardrails and add a little more specificity to, you know, what prosecutors are allowed to object with, what are people's individual rights under the law, and how, the spirit of these reforms, which were to create increased avenues for trans people to be able to change their name, to live safely and authentically in Illinois, for that to, be reality.
Are there organizations, specific organizations that folks for trans folks, gender nonconforming folks, that they can connect with to help guide them through this?
Yeah, absolutely. It is the Transformative Justice Law Project. They do a lot of mobilizations related to name change petitions, as well as Chicago House and their trans legal program.
Wow. It's just such an, interesting is the wrong word
I got you.
to use here in this, because I really recommend folks to read Adam's work here, because it is so well researched and thoughtfully done, and we're just very lucky that you took the time to dive into this, because also you were referencing a number of studies from GLAAD and from I'm trying to see here, there's a 2015 survey here. I mean, what was the research like for this? Because I imagine it just must have been so much.
Yeah, so positively or otherwise, I have covered LGBT people in the criminal legal system for years, so it is something that I personally have a really deep knowledge of. I'm very well sourced in this, and these are issues, again, I've covered for years. For Extra Magazine, I think earlier last year or this year, time is confusing these days, but have reported on, rising anti-LGBT hate crimes, rising anti-trans hate crimes. And so, this article kind of pulled a lot of that in, that, I think for people who might not have a close understanding of this issue, they just see like a name change as like, oh, it's just like your name, like what's the big deal? But again, as we've talked about, like, this opens up trans people to tremendous violence, and that avenue for violence is coming at a time where anti-trans violence is at an all-time high, or is rising. I can't really speak to if it's an all-time high or not. Amid additionally the federal government trying to restrict people's ability to get passports and other identity documents that affirm their identities as well. So in some ways the research wasn't as like super exhausting, because I had kind of done the research already throughout my other reporting. But again, it is kind of like tying all of these pieces together that might not like super narrowly fit, but kind of like sociologically, I would say, really kind of are together in this piece.
Are there states that are doing this correctly?
There are states that are certainly doing it better. I think a lot of advocates that I talked to said, there are still barriers across the country to changing their name, whether it is simply administrative, whether it is like financial. A name change petition in some states can cost a couple $100s. There are pro bono legal services or low-cost legal services, particularly for trans people who want to change their names. But really just want to highlight, like, New York lets incarcerated people change their name. And that was kind of pinpointed as like, look at what other states are doing. That, like, these nebulous concerns about public safety are, those conversations are different in other states where, again, people who maybe in Illinois, people would say like shouldn't be able to change their name. In New York, they're able to change their name.
The article is in Illinois, trans people with criminal records still face hurdles to changing their name. The author is writer and journalist Adam Rhodes. You can read it for yourself at boltsmag.org. Real quick, like in 10 seconds, Adam, how do folks connect with you?
I am no longer terminally online. If anything has taught me these days, it is that the internet is a dark and scary place. You can find me on Blue Sky, and my website, it is adamrhodeswrites.com.
Perfect.
But that's
I gotta leave it there. We'll put links in our show notes and on our website. More after the break.
Across this country, LGBTQ rights are under threat. This is a struggle that the LGBTQ community knows all too well. Since 1987, Outfront Minnesota has been fighting for LGBTQ rights and protections here at home, and this work is needed now more than ever. Hard-fought wins here in the state of Minnesota are at risk, from the ban on the harmful practice of conversion therapy that passed in 2023 to transgender protection secured in our State Human Rights Act in 1993, and even national recognition of our same-sex marriage protections that we secured in 2013 are at risk. Outfront Minnesota has helped Minnesota become a national leader in LGBTQ rights, and they will hold the line to make sure we don't lose what we've gained. But they need you. Now is the time to step up and support Outfront Minnesota and LGBTQ rights here in our state. Outfront Minnesota needs your financial support today to strengthen LGBTQ protections at home, at school, and at the state capitol. Learn more and make your gift at outfront.org/give. That's outfront.org/give.
Hi, I'm Corey Wisco, president of the Welshire. The Welshire is a community that provides memory care to its residents, and we have a location in Bloomington and also another one that we just opened in Medina, Minnesota. But the big question is that why do people come to Welshire? Many of the people coming to Welshire are coming from other memory care communities where they maybe haven't received bathing, they've had problems taking medication, or inconsistency with staffing. Welshire has never used a temporary staff. We always have our own people, and it's those people that make the difference. We have always felt it so important to have 24-hour nursing in the building. The other thing is you have to have an amazing activity team. Nobody employs more activity people than Welshire. Our activities begin in the morning, go all the way through the evening, 7 days a week. So if you have a loved one that needs memory care, come visit WelshireMN.com and book a tour today.
Hey, this is John Parker at Rainbow Road in Minneapolis. The holidays are coming up, and you can buy a limited selection of official Tom of Finland swimwear, tanks, and underwear for that special someone or for yourself. But don't wait on this. When they're gone, they're gone. And while you're there, update your gym look from a wide selection of tanks, t-shirts, and shorts. Rainbow Road is open 7 days a week on Grant Street by Loring Park and all the time at rainbowrd.com. Remember to get it at the road.
Hey, it's Alex with Buzzcut Mowing. Why spend your precious time out in the cold this fall raking, bagging, and stressing over leaves when I can handle it all for you? I provide fast, thorough, and reliable fall leaf cleanups across the West Metro. Let me do the hard work so you can stay cozy, sip your coffee, and actually enjoy the season. Visit buzzcutmowingmn.com today, and let's make your yard the envy of the neighborhood before the winter hits. Buzzcut Mowing.
Welcome back to the Gailey Show. We are coming up on the top of the hour. I am John Parker. Next Tuesday, December 6th, is a special election in Tennessee for the 7th.
December 2nd.
That's
all
time
right.
is meaningless. Time is meaningless. December 2nd. In the 7th Congressional District in Tennessee is the final congressional race of the year. The Democrats and the Republicans are going head to head on this, spending an eye-popping amount of money. I'm going to go through some numbers here in a second. But Jim, maybe you can set the stage for us.
Well, this is an interesting one. It's Central Tennessee, and it has been a Republican district. And I think in an average time, one might have said, well, this is going to be an easy retention for the Republicans. But and I was just looking up what the last results were. I want to say it was like 61 to 39, something like that, Republicans. So that's pretty safe. But we're in a different time, I feel like, and I don't know whether we'll see. This is a race that has, yes, a Democrat and Republican, but it also has a whole bunch of independents, which I always am suspicious of that. What are they really trying to do? But I think there's like 2 or 3 independents. So I think this is the best we can probably hope for is a race that's close as we can make it, maybe 47% on our part, 48%, to put the fear of who into the Republicans that nothing is safe. That's sort of the hope that I'm coming at this with. It's important because it does lead into, in January, another special election in Texas, which is a safe Democratic district. In fact, the 2 people that made it through the primaries and are now doing a runoff are both Democrats. So I'm not sure why we had to go through that. But anyway, that's happening in January. And then, of course, in April, there's a state Supreme Court in Wisconsin again. So these are 3 pretty important ones. December 2nd, Tennessee. January, I'm sorry, I don't have the date, in Texas, and April for Wisconsin State Supreme Court.
So there's some big numbers here. So up until the Federal Election Commission deadline on November 24th, there had already been $3 million spent to mostly help this is according to the Tennessee Lookout, $3 million to help Van Epps. Van Epps is the former Tennessee General Services Commissioner.
Yep.
He is a Republican. But recently, political action committees tied to Democratic donors have spent about $1.8 million in the race to help Representative Afton Bain, a Democrat, to win. And since the 24th, so these are numbers. I'm sorry. Let's restart. Since November 24th.
That's today.
The filings are of today.
Got it.
So the filings came out today.
Got it.
$2.3 million from Republican tied PACs and $1.8 million from Democratic donors. The Democratic groups, interestingly, particularly for our Chicago listeners, HMP and Your Community PAC are the largest individual donors to HMP this year have been Democratic Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker. So he is somebody who I think quietly behind the scenes has been spending some cash. We saw him spending money for both of our neighbors, for Chicago and for Minnesota. In Wisconsin, the Supreme Court race in April, his family and himself were spending money through that to get the liberal aligned justice onto Wisconsin's Supreme Court. So there's a lot of money here. The Hill reporting that Democrats are acknowledging that it's going to be a big climb if they're actually going to flip it, but they are hoping that they're going to see the same thing they saw in the Florida special elections that were in April of this year, where they can close the gap in how much they lose by.
And the situation is so much more fraught now. We have a clear connection between this party, the Republican Party, that suddenly found the Lord and suddenly decided to release the Epstein files, even though the president and everybody else involved were trying to hide involvement. And now suddenly everybody's found Jesus, if you forgive the expression.
And it is a gerrymandered.
Terrible.
Texas is totally gerrymandered, and Trump won the district by 22 points, and the retiring or resigning Representative Green won it by 21 points.
Right. But I don't think that's going to be the case now. I think this is going to be, special elections are different. Sometimes they do have lower turnout. I think that might benefit us if our people show up. And I'm hoping for a close, 48%, 49%. To make them sweat and to know that they can't let any election go by, that they're going to be threatened every single time they step out of their house. I love that. I love that notion.
I mean, all of the advertising should be Epstein-related advertising.
Yeah, the party of Epstein.
And making sure that, whoever gets in there is going to actually go after the Epstein files.
Yep.
It's the one issue that can make MAGA voters turn against Donald Trump. Apparently, it isn't tariffs. It isn't grocery prices. It isn't your health care.
That's coming.
It's the Epstein files.
Well, it's coming.
Okay. We'll see. So we'll check in on this race next. Well, obviously we can't check on it the day of, but Wednesday, the 3rd, we'll check in and see how things are going there. I know, Jim, you watch polling all the time, so if you see any interesting polls coming out, we will update you as we learn it ourselves. But we'll see if the Democrats can keep that winning streak alive as we round out 2025. Speaking of winning streaks, I started talking about this earlier, and I want to revisit it. We are in the radio here. For folks on YouTube, you're watching live radio right now, and none of this is possible without listener support. And trust me when I say the Trump administration went after public radio. They've got independent radio in their sights as well. And so becoming a sustaining member, I sound like I'm on PBS, becoming a sustaining member of AM 950 Radio, if you're in Minnesota, is so important. Please go to am950radio.com, click on Become a Member. We've got a free 2026 calendar as a gift to folks who sign up Photos taken by our very own Matt McNeil. So that's it for us today. Until this time tomorrow, keep it queer, America.
Keep it queer.